Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Melodies Wrapped Around Life. You know, I always enjoy doing this show because I usually have somebody coming in here that's a whole lot more interesting than me. And this young man that we have today, I've known for a long time, and his story is a good story, and we're going to get to it right now, and that is, I introduce to you Mr. Connor Austell. And Connor, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, John. Thanks for having me. Like you said, I've been knowing you since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, as they say. So
Yeah. Well, when I went to school with your granddaddy.
My granddaddy and my great uncle both, I played football with them.
Yeah, sure did. And when your mom and dad were little, they lived across the street from us on
North Washington.
Not your dad, but your mom lived across the street on Washington Street. So
that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah,
I know. Absolutely. I've known you ever since you were cracked.
That's right. Ever since I hatched.
Yeah, there you go. Well, what we're going to do today is we're going to investigate Connor's trip into music and how it all started for you. And you know, we'll play some songs. Connor's an incredible singer and an incredible writer, and he's making his mark, and we just want to help him tell you folks how this all happened, and just how did the musicality start, Connor, in your life?
It was, as they say in the South, it was bred into me, and you know this, but my mom is a incredible singer. She writes a little bit, and she can play a little bit of piano, but has one of the most incredible voices I've ever heard. My dad is an incredible songwriter. He worked in Nashville in the early to mid 90s as a staff writer, intern kind of deal. Also a great musician.
Bass player?
Bass player. He can play guitar too. He plays bass in our band. He plays bass and then sings the tenor harmony, which isn't easy to do.
No, tenor is the hardest thing. To me, singing in church choir, I do that. The tenor lines, I don't see how they do it.
Well, it's crazy because it's almost like patting your head and rubbing your tummy, like when you're playing the bass on the guitar and then singing the tenor line. It's completely different stuff.
Like a drummer.
Yeah.
You know, got to get all your parts moving in different directions.
Independently of one another.
There you go.
Absolutely.
So when did you pick up a guitar?
I picked up one when I was around 8 years old. Of course, Dad played, but he didn't have a guitar. Actually, my papa had a guitar, the one that went to school with you.
Yeah.
He didn't play it much. He can play it, but Dad had borrowed it for something, and it was an old Montana guitar, solid black. And Montana, I don't think they make them anymore, but Alvarez made. It was like the knockoff of Alvarez.
Right.
Of course, the action on it was about that thick.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful that I learned on that guitar because it really helped build hand strength and really thick calluses. So I picked that up, and I was like, man, this is cool. And Dad knew the basic chords and taught them to me. And not long after that, I started mowing the grass for Mom and Dad and mowing them for my grandpa and just doing whatever I could. Saved up $75 and went to Walmart and bought a First Act electric guitar. And the rest is history. Once I got that electric, I was like, oh, this is so cool. But I've never had
those smooth strings.
Yeah. And the action wasn't much better, but it was electric, so it was easier. And but I've never had a formal lesson. I'm completely self-taught. I mean, people have showed me things. Obviously, Dad showed me a lot, and one of my biggest musical mentors, John Cook, showed me quite a bit. But the rest was just, I'm a old soul because I used to check out books about playing guitar from the library, and and I'm only 26, but like we didn't have internet till I was well in like a teenager. So Dad actually had some books about it, but I checked out books about it. And then once the internet came along, of course, YouTube, you can learn how to do anything.
Did he have any old Mel Bay books, big note guitar books?
He had one.
They weren't hardbound. They were like softbound.
He had the one that I remember. It was like note cards, but they were the shape of like, well, you can't see it there, but like just this part of the guitar.
Yeah.
and like that's what the shape of the note cards were, and each of them had a hole, and it was bound by a big key ring, and then it had dots on it of what the chord was. So it would say this is the chord, and these
Right.
are the dots where you play, and there was like 60 of them. So it was all kinds of weird jazz chords and
Yeah.
and normal chords. I used that thing to death just trying to figure it out. And he had, I'm a huge, always has been since I was tiny, Elvis Presley fan. And I get that from my dad. He was too. And he had 2 big old books. What do they call it? The anthology?
Anthology?
Anthology.
Yeah.
He had volume 1 and volume 2, which is basically like every Elvis Presley song. And of course, it was sheet music, but it also had the chords above it. So, man, I loved Elvis. I would just go through that and just play, and then use that note card thing that I was saying so I could figure out, okay, what chord is that? Okay, I got it. And, yeah, that's how I learned. I shared a room with my older brother, who is the only one. I have 3 siblings, and my older brother's the only one who's not really musical, and he hated it. He hated it. I would wear him out because I would just play the same thing over and over, and that's what you have to do when you're practicing something and you want to be able to do it well. And I shared a room with him, a room not much bigger than this studio, 2 twin beds, and just over and over and over again. And I had a little boom box on my nightstand, and I would listen to the song over and over and
Yeah.
over again, and I just wore him plumb out. He actually came to a gig that I was playing a couple of weeks ago, and that's the first one he's ever been to. Because
Really?
I just wore him out so much on it, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do right now, since how we forgot to take a commercial break. We're going to take a quick commercial break,
Okay.
and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the writing side of it.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay?
Sounds
we'll
great.
be back after these messages.